Chapter 4. The Big Decision.
The king wishes to see you, sir.
André, my lieutenant, had just entered my office with this message from the king. Any idea what it's about, André?
No, sir, except
Except what?
he is with Monsieur Fouquet, who seems to be very angry. I have never seen his face so red.
Perhaps he should open a vein or two. Losing a little blood might do him good. André did not smile at my joke. I got up from my desk and went straight to the king's rooms. Fouquet was indeed in a bad state. He was sweating and pacing angrily up and down the room. The king was half-dressed, his wig slightly crooked, and his shirt unbuttoned. He looked very pale, as if he had not had enough sleep.
D'Artagnan,
Louis said, yawning.
Monsieur Fouquet is about to have an apoplexy. He tells me that someone wants to take my throne from me. Can you believe it?
The king did not seem to be too worried. Fouquet stopped his angry pacing and approached the king.
Your Majesty, I don't think you understand how serious this matter is. When I tell you who this man is, I think you will see there is reason to be worried.
Well, speak then, for goodness sake. I know I am not going to be able to stop you. You've already disturbed my sleep, now disturb my mind.
Louis sat down in a large armchair and rested his feet on a stool. His eyes were half closed.
The man is your twin brother, Your Majesty.
Louis's eyes suddenly opened wide.
What nonsense is this, Fouquet? I have no twin brother.
But you do, Your Majesty, although you were told that Philippe had died at birth. In fact, Philippe was taken away and brought up by a certain gentleman near Nîmes. Your father believed that to have both sons sharing the throne would have caused conflict, and decided that one must be removed from court. Your father made me swear to keep it secret. Not even your mother knows that this other twin is still alive. It would perhaps have been better if he wasn't.
Louis thought for some moments.
I have another brother. But that is excellent news.
Not so excellent, Your Majesty. Your brother has ambitious friends who wish to place him on the throne.
Indeed, that is not so excellent. So, this fellow thinks he can take my throne, does he?
Louis stood up, wide awake now, and began walking nervously up and down the room, just as Fouquet had done earlier.
No, Your Majesty, Philippe is a gentle fellow. He has no wish to be king. But there are those who would like to use him to get power for their own purposes.
We must stop them. Who is behind all this?
Fouquet looked across at me and pointed a finger accusingly.
You know them well, Captain d'Artagnan. You were old friends.
You can't mean Aramis, Athos, and Porthos, I said, trying to sound as if such a thing was simply not possible.
The very same.
But how do you know this?
Only they would dare to break into the prison on Sainte Marguerite, and only they could put 5 of my men out of action in less than 2 minutes. I have never seen swords move so quickly. Besides, I recognize the big fellow. What's his name? Porthos?
I tried to appear shocked, but it certainly sounded like my friends. Are you sure, Monsieur Fouquet? They are all well-respected men. It would be wrong to accuse them of something they did not do. I think we should have proof before we act.
We cannot wait for proof. I say we arrest them at once and have them executed along with Philippe. I told your father all those years ago that it was a mistake to let him live.
Louis turned his back on us for a moment and then said,
No. Kill the musketeers, but not my twin brother. I have only one of those.
That may not be wise, Your Majesty. As long as he lives, your throne is in danger.
Not if he is in the Bastille.
As you wish, Your Majesty.
Louis stood in front of me and looked me straight in the eye.
So, D'Artagnan, now is the time to see how loyal a servant you really are. Can you hunt down those traitors who were once your friends and bring me their heads on a plate?
If they are truly traitors, Your Majesty, they will surely answer for their crimes.
Good man. But do you doubt the truth of what Monsieur Fouquet is saying?
I wish to find out for sure, Your Majesty. Fouquet stamped angrily on the floor.
We do not have time for that. We must hunt them down now. If D'Artagnan will not do it, I will lead an army against them myself. I think I know where to find them.
Do as you wish, Fouquet. In the meantime, there is no harm in D'Artagnan asking questions.
At that moment, Louise opened the door of the king's room. She was about to enter when she saw us.
I am sorry, Your Majesty. I did not realize you were busy.
I am never too busy for you, my dear. So, Fouquet, D'Artagnan, I leave my life and the safety of my throne in your hands.
Louis looked at Fouquet, who didn't dare say another word.
Louise, I have good news. I have found another brother.
Really, Your Majesty?
Yes, a twin brother, who appears to have friends, traitors to their king, who wish to place him on my throne. But I believe he is just a country boy. He may be good at feeding hens and milking cows, but I doubt he would make a good king. I am not concerned. Anyway, soon my loyal captain will bring me the heads of those traitors. I will have those heads spiked on the gates of the city to show the people how traitors are dealt with. But my brother will be kept in the Bastille.
Louise looked at me, but I did not look back, for fear of showing my feelings for her. On the way to my office, I wondered about what Aramis, Athos, and Porthos had done. I still knew nothing of how they had entered the fearsome prison on Sainte Marguerite and escaped with the king's brother. I had no doubt they were behind it. But what was their plan?
D'Artagnan, you look worried.
I turned and saw Colbert standing under a flowering cherry tree talking to the king's mother, Anna of Austria. They looked as if they were in the middle of a secret discussion. Although I believed he was an honest man, Colbert was as good as the rest of them at making secret plans. Ah, Monsieur Colbert, and Your Majesty. Colbert welcomed me with a smile, though his dark eyes told me he wanted information. The Queen, Louis's mother, now in her 50s, was still beautiful. I knew she did not like her son's ways. She believed a king should be an example to his people, suffering for them if necessary. And Louis neither set a good example nor suffered for his people. Colbert placed his hand on my shoulder.
Tell us, D'Artagnan, why was Fouquet so upset earlier? He looked as if someone had just robbed him of his purse.
Much worse than that, Monsieur Colbert. Someone wants to rob him of his king. They both looked at me in surprise. Their smiles had disappeared.
Tell us more, D'Artagnan.
I thought for a moment, but decided to tell them as little as possible. I have always believed that a secret should remain a secret. Just another plot, Monsieur Colbert, but we will deal with it. Colbert knew I was not telling them everything I knew.
You are a dark horse, D'Artagnan. Always the king's man. Well, I have to admire you for it, but I will get the truth out of you before the day's out.
I promised myself that he would not. I did not go immediately to my office. I needed to think. So I continued to walk through the gardens. I knew Athos would go straight to his farm in Blois. He would think himself safe there. Fouquet knew that too, and would go there to arrest him and the others. The time had come for me to make up my mind. Should I remain a musketeer and keep the promise I had made 30 years ago, or be a free-thinking man and decide for myself what was best for France and its people? What was this Philippe like, after all? Would he be a worse tyrant than his brother? I decided to set off for Blois immediately and find out for myself. Fouquet and his men would probably leave the next day, so if I set off that afternoon, it would give me almost a 24-hour head start. As I was coming back up the path, I saw Louise sitting alone on a garden seat. I thought she was crying. I was surprised to see her there, as I expected her to be with the king. Mademoiselle de la Vallière? I said quietly, not wanting to frighten her. Are you all right?
Ah, D'Artagnan, you always appear when I am in need of a friend.
I will certainly be that, if you will let me.
Please sit with me for a while. I feel you are my only friend here at court. May I talk to you?
I didn't know what to say. I did not want the king to see us together. He was a very jealous man, but at the same time I did not want to miss this chance to be alone with Louise. When I sat down, she said,
I do not love the king, D'Artagnan. What should I do?
Every lady in France dreams of being in your position. The king will give you anything you want. Can't you try and love him?
I see you are a practical man, D'Artagnan. But no, I cannot. I am in love with another.
My heart sank. I am sorry to hear it.
You shouldn't be, D'Artagnan.
May I ask who the lucky man is?
I hope to tell you one day, but not now. You see, I'm not sure that he loves me.
Does he know that you love him?
I think he may have seen it in my eyes, but I'm not sure.
Have you not seen anything in his?
I think so, but I cannot be sure.
Is he someone here at court?
Yes.
I see. And now that the king is so fond of you,
You see now why I am sad.
I do, mademoiselle. But I am sure things will turn out well in the end.
I hope so.
Louise looked at me warmly and placed her hand on mine. I stood up at once. I must see to my duties, Mademoiselle de la Vallière.
Yes, of course. And please call me Louise.
Very well. Louise. I kissed her hand briefly and left. As I walked quickly up the path, past the sea of colour in the flower beds, I felt more in love than ever, even though I knew she loved another. I wondered who he could be, since I had not seen her talking to anyone in particular. As I entered my office, I thought about how foolish I was. A man of 45 years, in love with a lady of just 22. I told myself that I must try and forget her, or else I might forget all my duties to the king. That afternoon, I left André in charge and set out for Blois to find my friends and perhaps see this Philippe that Fouquet was talking about.